Guys, I'm watching the video on the screen. It looks like we are live, but then our staff is telling me like she's not sure we are live. There we go. Just want to open this up, and really what we're doing is having a discussion about the coronavirus, the new measures that were put in place by the county yesterday and what that means. I have gotten a lot of questions sent to my Facebook, and I try to answer them all. I actually went live last night on my own page for about 45 minutes. I think we got about 700 hits just because there's a lot of people wondering what's going on out there. My job is to translate what's going on so that we can all do the right thing and abide by the best practices and keep our community safe. So with that, I am going to first, we had some questions that were emailed to us, and I want to address those first. For those people who are watching who want to ask questions, please post those in the comments. I actually have staff here who's going to be able to read those questions back to me if I don't get to them, if I don't read them over here. My goal is to make sure that we get as many of these questions answered as possible. So the first one was, we've gotten a couple calls. Is it fine for people who are not practicing social distancing or who are in groups, not practicing social distancing in groups of larger than 10? And the reality is that's not okay right now. What we're trying to do is to create at least 6 feet between people, and social distancing in practice is really pretending like you already have this, that you have one of these the virus and that you don't want to pass it on, or that the person in front of you has the virus. We know that it's passed through droplets, which means if you sneeze, if you cough, if you touch your face and then go touch another person, that is actually how this is transmitted. It's very similar to a cold. However, it's more contagious than that. So no, we are definitely not, would like people to stay out of groups of 10 or larger. Also, please enact social distancing of at least 6 feet. And people have also asked how this is going to be enforced. Right now, we are utilizing our police officers for education. So this would be enforced through education, not through ticketing, not through any other means at this point. The chief was pretty clear about this yesterday, and really that's what I think Wichita needs. The people of Wichita do the right thing when they get all the information. So if we have the police chief who and the officers pretty much let people know what the rules are and what's the best practices, we're confident people will follow them. Do we have any questions online yet, or should I go to the next? Okay, cool. So the next question here was a call-in earlier is, if someone has questions about what sort of business is essential or not, what should they do? So I do want to just make this clear that unlike Kansas City, Missouri, or some of these cities in Oklahoma, the mayor doesn't actually make these orders. Like, I don't decree these to the city, nor does the city council. Instead, this actually comes from our county commission, which is our friends across the street. And that's important to know because they are the ones who are quarterbacking this. And although they have the authority to implement and to enforce these, the city, we're a partner, and my job is to communicate this. In lack of authority, I utilize influence. So in doing that, just wanted to tell you that you actually have to reach out to the Sedgwick County offices themselves, and the number for them is 660-9000, 660-9000, or email FAQ at sedgwick.gov. So frequently asked questions. Stay at home, FAQ at sedgwick.gov. And by the way, we are creating, I believe on our page as well, a frequently asked questions about this, so that when you ask your questions on our feed and the questions that I've been getting, the ones that are more common, we want to get kind of a one spot for people to be able to get those questions answered. Do we have a live question yet? We got about 116 people live on the feed right now. Please type in your question in the discussions if you have a question. really that's kind of the point of having it, is to get information out, but more importantly to interact and make sure that we are answering all the questions that the public might have. So again, feel free to write your question in a comment section because I'm here to answer those. So the last question I have on my list that was asked through telephone is, where can we get more information? These are, and this has been blowing up my personal Facebook page, and also my political Facebook page, is people looking for information. What does this mean to me, and how do we find information moving forward so that we are doing everything we can to abide by the best practices. So be sure to check out the city's coronavirus resource page at wichita.go/coronavirus. Gov. Thanks. So my notes, they took off the V, so it's wichita.gov/coronavirus. And we have daily, sometimes even hourly updates on the information concerning this virus. So we want to make sure that we get that information out to you as fast as possible. Also, of course, I will be making sure that any information I get, I will be tweeting out through my own social media and posting on my Facebook page, both my professional page and also my personal Facebook page. The goal is to get as much information out as possible. So with that, do we have any questions yet?
We do. We have a few.
Awesome.
The first one is from Christina. Are there plans for grocery delivery to vulnerable persons by the fire or police departments?
So that's a really good question. Right now, we are utilizing our first responders for, and I'm going to check my phone too to see if I'm getting any questions, because sometimes people feed them to me. Usually what we're doing right now is trying to keep our first responders on alert and ready to serve in that first responding role. So to divert resources from our police and our firefighters over to delivering groceries at this time, that's not what we're doing. However, I do want you to know that I think maybe 2 weeks ago, things go so fast. It might have been last week, possibly 2 weeks ago. I called in the leadership over at the United Way and asked them if they could be our one-stop shop as far as uniting the nonprofit resources in our area to help out people who are part of that population who should be staying home and not going out. They agreed to this. So utilizing, pick up your phone and calling 211 and saying, hey, I need groceries delivered. They should be able to help you. Also, those people who would like to volunteer. That's another thing about this crisis, and one of the reasons why Wichita, is the greatest city in the country. People who have been furloughed, who because their job is just on the sideline right now until we rebound from this. Those people are actually looking for ways to step up and step out and be helpful and volunteer. If you're one of them, please call 211 over at the United Way, and they are looking for people to run groceries to others who are at home, and also to do other things such as preparing meals for seniors. And one thing I do want to add is we have really this kind of bottom-up leadership that we're seeing in our community. We have this young woman who's a college student. Her name's Kenzie. She noticed that we had a need for college age students who wanted to volunteer and make these type of runs, and we need a centralized location for people to find out who would volunteer and help out. That website is ictresponse.com. So ICT Response is a completely community-run, not city-run website that will have lots of information, but definitely have people who have asked to be identified as someone who can run and get groceries for other people. Other question?
There are several. We're going to try and get to as many of these as we can in a very short amount of time. We had one question I'm going to paraphrase, so it's shortened just a little bit. What happens if people do not abide by the stay-at-home order?
Very good question. So the question was, what happens if people don't abide by the stay-at-home order? As I mentioned earlier, this is being enforced by education. So if you are someone who is out and about and a police officer approaches you and you're in a group of more people, they're going to educate you that we need groups of less than 10 people. You need to be 6 feet apart. This is the best practices. Now, I want to be very clear about this too, where, being able to enforce this through education, there's no ticketing, there's no arresting, there's none of that type of stuff happening. We believe that the people of Wichita are, I believe, the best people in the world. If you give them the information, they will do what needs to be done just on their own. So this ordinance is put into place to show how serious the situation is. And when it comes to enforcement, and I want to make this clear as well, really, this should be called the Stay Smart Act. If I got to name this would be the Stay Smart Order instead of the Stay at Home Order, because it's common sense. Where if we have a contagious virus out there and we're not sure who has it, we should limit ourselves to the exposure of people who we're normally not exposed to. But you can go walk your dog. You can go, our parks are still open. You can go stroll through the park. You don't have to actually be hunkered down in your house. That's not what we're asking you to do. We're asking people to go to the store. While you're there, keep 6 feet away, practice social distancing, wash your hands, make sure that you do all the precautions, get food for at least a week, possibly 2 weeks, and then come home and only go out when you need to go out. If you're someone, who goes to the store every other day, we're asking you to try to limit that. Go out only when necessary. A lot of this stuff is common sense. It really should be called the Stay Smart Ordinance, and really the Stay Safe Ordinance. And that's what we're trying to enforce here, is just letting people know that this is a big deal, and utilizing these type of precautions is going to help not only keep you healthy, but possibly save lives of the vulnerable population within our district within our city.
All right, let's take one more, and then we'll try to answer people as they keep asking questions. City Hall is closed to the public, but can people still call City Hall and get services?
Yeah, definitely. So local government's not going to close. We can't. We have a responsibility to the public. We have a responsibility to you. If there is something going on, if a water pipe breaks, we have to make sure that we can respond to that water pipe breaking. So the core functions of city government is still working. If you call, you will get a response. Now, we are close to the public, and I want to talk about that just a little bit. I believe it's our municipal courts are closed. I believe also that people who have to pay certain bills and such are going to get an extension. We are trying to be responsible by not having City Hall be a place where large amounts of people are gathering who can't observe the 6-foot rule. If we're going to ask citizens to take this seriously, then we have to take it seriously here at City Hall.
I think that's all we have time for today.
That's all we have time for. All right, thank you. If there's any other questions, I'll be happy to respond to these. Feel free to shoot me an email or follow me on one of my pages, and I'd be happy to respond. Thank you. You can do this all night. What'd I do?